I'm here with Thomas Romig from ACI World, and we will be discussing all things aviation. So I would like to start off with my first question, which is collaboration has been a buzzword today, and collaboration within the industry is key. But where can airports start?
A really good question. So collaboration is really important on an airport level, and it's not just important to look at collaboration within the airport, but collaboration with the communities around and with states, with the government and different organisations that work with the airport, that support the airport. I like the idea of looking at it for smaller airports, because collaboration for smaller, or let's say emerging airports, is going to look different than you'll find in major hubs. You know, a Heathrow collaborative decision-making cell or an airport operations centre is a big room with lots of people in there who are going to be looking at how to run the operation in the smoothest possible way and ensure, really ensure passenger flows are optimised and so on. Collaboration doesn't need a big room, doesn't need a whole lot of people working in a highly digitalized or highly technological approach. It can start simply with having the right processes within an organization to have people communicate and share information in the most appropriate way. And that can come from simple things like getting 3 times a day a phone call where you have everybody, or nowadays a Teams call or something, Teams, Zoom, whatever it is. But having people get together on a regular basis to talk about what's happening, what's expected, explain some of the challenges that they have within their operation and so on. And so really creating those simple processes which can allow then an airport to start bringing information, bringing organizations together and creating that level of collaboration. Collaboration for me goes with communication, so the two are really tied together. But there are many simple mechanisms that can be used. Another idea, using a WhatsApp group or other types of communication, can be a very simple way of being able to challenge or take on that challenge.
Absolutely, I think that's the word. It's simple, isn't it? It's going back to the basics and really working on how we all communicate and work as people in general.
Keeping it simple as possible and not trying to reinvent everything every time. Go also participate in forums and discussions with other airports and see what's been done. And I think that for me has always been one of the good experiences, typically of these types of forums, being able to exchange with your peers and see how they're tackling these different challenges.
Absolutely. And what would you tell perhaps both airports in general, but also smaller airports, to really capitalise and focus on the most, to really excel in that passenger experience?
Overall, I guess in terms of passenger experience, what we want to be trying to do nowadays is creating a predictable journey for passengers. So informing them of what they can expect when they're going through the airport system, informing them of any delays which they might be experiencing, or any changes to what their normal journey would be, and really facilitating that process for passengers in as much as possible. Often we focus on sort of the notion of the seamless travel, which is great as a kind of a buzzword. But seamless travel also, to me, really means that we need that passengers receive the information they need to be able to plan accordingly and have the easiest possible travel, the easiest possible trip. So for a small airport, or again an emerging type of airport, there are very simple ways of doing that, which come back to the question of collaboration. So if you collaborate with your community, you have that information which you can then provide out to your passengers in a short term or medium term, so that they have that information for planning purposes. One of the big challenges we saw during the pandemic was really having very rapidly changing rules for health measures, for travel restrictions and so on, and that was really problematic for airports to be able to, for passengers to be able to anticipate, and for passengers to be able to manage those changes. Equally for airports to be able to identify those changes and communicate them to passengers. And I think maybe the last challenge that we have in terms of customer service and communication is that often the communication or the passenger seeks to get information from the airline and doesn't think of the airport as a communication platform, doesn't necessarily think to go look on the airport website, look at the airport's Twitter feed, or subscribe to their Facebook page or whatever it is to have those details, the information. So communicating again and coordinating with the community, including airlines, to get them to push that information and possible links to the airport website, to the airport social media feeds, to their passengers will also facilitate that level of coordination and information.
I completely agree. And when sticking in theme with the summit, so airports reimagined, when I say the phrase or the term airport of the future, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
It's an airport in which passengers have the most simple and seamless type of travel. And we remove, as airports, we remove the complexity of travels and all the challenges that we go through as passengers on a daily basis whenever we travel. Many people are traveling, surprisingly, many people are still traveling for the first time or travel very little. There's obviously within the industry and in business travelers travel a lot, have a certain level of regularity or understanding of the business and what to expect, but many people don't have that same level of understanding. And so creating a simple experience for passengers to be able to flow through the infrastructure is essential. And to me, that's really where the future should be, and what we're driving towards, trying to drive towards as an industry.
So, Thomas, you've been in many panels today. So, what are your key takeaways from the summit so far?
So, my key takeaways, I'd say, are one, collaboration, creating that level of collaboration across the airport ecosystem. Two, think about sustainability, but think about environmental sustainability and the social license to operate the airports have by working with their community. It's something we talked about in the very first panel this morning. And the third one is we talk about seamless travel, we talk about digitalization, we talk about creating a great customer experience, but we also have to think about just creating the foundations on which we can build digital solutions, passenger experience and so on. And today, with the challenges that we've had over the past almost, I'd say 2 years, but very focused on this summer, we need to be actually really re-cementing that base on which we can then build the rest of our growth for the future. If we don't get the foundations right, we're not going to be in a good place to be able to sustain the operations and the demand of the future.
I completely agree. That was my last question. Thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure, thank you.